This is Chit Chat That with John and Stefan.
It's probably how people see me at tables. Your chin just barely above the table.
It just goes like that.
I hear that's like a pretty healthy way to sit, though.
I know. So we're going to see how it goes.
Just turned off the lights to the basement.
Luckily, the sun is not down like it normally is when we're done.
By the end of this, we might be all the way in the dark.
That would be scary.
Bummer.
Basements in the dark are scary.
So we're getting pretty sporadic with our chit-chatting.
Yes. You know what?
You're too busy with your new job.
It's not too... Well, it's not just... Yeah, it is that.
Because before it was like you worked longer shifts, so I think you had more days off.
Right.
And that gives you a lot more flexibility. Like I miss that with...
It does.
Being like the pharmacy manager. Like you always have to work extra, but like you had... The 4 days you worked, you did 4 tens, and then you were done.
Right, you didn't have to go back for anything. And
then you put all your days off in a row. And so I feel like I had a lot more free time than I do now. I could work from home, which is nice.
Yeah.
And it's more flexible. But I feel like I'm always stuck working all the time.
Yeah. I feel that a little bit. I think the biggest killer for me, though, is as much as I don't mind the commute because... I take the train. It's like, it still takes up a lot of the day.
Yeah, because you have an 8-hour shift.
Yeah.
Does it include lunch?
Yeah. Well, it's an 8.5-hour day then. I get there, it's supposed to be 8:30 to 5, but I usually leave at like 6:15 in the morning to go pick up my brother-in-law. Then we both get on the train that's at 6:47. That's when it leaves, and then I get to work at about 7:30. Then I'll go exercise, and then I'll get to...
So you have like a 12-hour day. What time do you go to bed at night?
Around 10:30, 11.
You're not getting enough sleep, man.
You bet. I know I'm not. And that's probably why I'm so close, but so far away with a lot of our workouts. Suck.
Yeah. You need that rest when you build those.
I've got so many. I know I can't be this far. Anyway,
speaking of sleep, though, so I have sleep apnea, I guess.
So did you take the actual test and everything?
Yeah,
and
I took
it. Up to all that stuff.
And it's funny because they're like, "Do you snore?" And I was like,
"Sure."
No, not really. Like, well, does your wife wake you up or anything like that? Like, do you stop breathing? I was like, no. And she's usually a pretty light sleeper because she is. Mm-hmm. And then I took the thing like, you snore like 500 times an hour. I was like, oh, well, that's probably a yes on the snoring category. I think it's just not very loud. I just like stop breathing a lot. And so now I've had like a CPAP machine for about 2 weeks now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, and
it feels so much better.
Does it really help?
I'm like still tired a lot, but like I feel like that's like slowly going away.
Oh, that's good.
Tons of the other symptoms, like being able to concentrate and like remembering things, like that's gone 180. It's been awesome.
I just need to sleep, I think, because I'm like 12 to... Well, I wake up at like 5:45, 5:30 is when my alarm goes off, but I usually don't get out of bed till after that. But anyway, so I'm like going from between 11 to 5-ish. And then that's not even the whole time good sleep. So toss and turning kids, all that fun. Mm-hmm. Never. Dang.
Yeah. I've been feeling this way since like...
Screwed up I've been.
16. So I just blamed it on my wife. I was like, oh... That's like when we started dating, and it just keeps getting worse. It's because we've been together longer. Probably what it is. I'll just blame her.
There you go.
Just being around a girl that long
just makes it easy. It's the girl's fault. Of course, now in today's, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Anyway,
I probably cause her more stress than she causes me.
Oh, so there you go.
For shizzle.
So that sounds like a healthy relationship. We both cause each other stress, and you're still together, and it's great.
Mm-hmm. So we just bring each other down.
There you go. As long as you're together, that's the key, right?
The key. I don't think people say faux shizzle. Not
anymore. Since the 90s.
Like it's been a while. I keep saying it. Like
saying the 90s feels weird because it's like that was the cool time, and now it's like everyone's 2000s. It's like
now it's hard to keep up. I think
it is.
The world changes at a faster rate
when you have responsibility
as time goes on.
No, if we were still like kids, I don't think it would be as bad. Maybe.
Well, like when kids, like we got new information, you had to like watch a movie, and that's where like slang and stuff come from, or like music. But now we have the internet, and I feel like we have things come and go so quickly. Like
that's true.
Trends and stuff are just rapidly evolving because we get information so quickly. Like I could right here on my phone publish something, and then like tens of even 20s of people could see instantaneously, you know?
And then you could update it right after that and say, oh, whoops, now this. But
then we got like president tweeting, and like tons of people see his. He's slightly more popular than my Twitter account.
And he's slightly more loud too. He's got a lot of he has a lot of dumb tweets at the same time. Yeah.
The louder and dumber stuff you got.
The more followers you get. They're all waiting for the next dumb thing. Yeah, that's how social media works. You want to know something? I was trying to find, because we were talking about kids' books. I was trying to think of the kids' book that I would think that was like the best kids' book ever. I don't think I read enough kids' books. I can't think of any as a kid.
Yeah, I don't like reading. Like,
I can't.
Other than like short picture books, I probably never read a book front to back. And that's probably not like something to brag about. Like it's not a good thing. But at the same time, reading is so boring.
Sorry.
He's just rearranging his ball. That he's sitting on.
Yeah, it was.
You don't want to sit on it because that hurts. So
not that one, no. But this one, it was sliding out from under me. I don't know what that means, but
it's the exercise ball that he's sitting on.
Right.
Not his testicle.
Yeah, that would just be messed up. But I just can't think of any kids' books.
I know that.
I couldn't think of one that I would be like, this is the best kids' book. Because I don't think any of them are.
I think I Love You Forever was like my pick. The one when you have like on the baby has like the watch. He's about to flush it down the toilet. And like the baby gets older. And then the parent becomes the baby and they're holding him, rocking him to sleep.
Circle of Life.
Yeah.
See, I can't remember any. Yeah, I'd have an easier time thinking of my favorite kids movie than I would a favorite kids book.
Yeah, because a movie I can kind of concentrate and actually watch it. But a book, I just start thinking about things I'd rather be doing than reading.
Well, most of the time as a kid, I just looked through the pictures like you were saying, and I would never really read it. Mm-hmm. So I don't even know what the book was about. I would just look at the pictures and kind of imagine what it was about.
We're both pretty big in movies, so I think it's just like a personality thing.
Most likely, yeah.
Then you find people that like watching movies and reading books, and you're like, they just like stories.
Yeah, well, that's, yeah.
I like a good story, but I'd rather watch it than read it.
It's true. I would rather watch it. There was only one series that I read all the way through in middle school, and that was it. I haven't found anything like it.
I've read good chunks of like Louis L'Amour books.
Yeah? Who's Louis L'Amour?
He did like cowboy westerns.
Oh, yeah. But
like,
okay, yeah.
You could skim read it, and so you could skip like every other chapter at least.
And never feel like you missed
still
anything?
Get the whole story. Yeah, because it's pretty much
the same story.
A cowboy and a girl. Bandits come in. He protects the girl, saves the day, and then on to the next book. Like that's how all of them go. And so you can pretty much follow a pretty basic storyline. You read enough to get some of the details filled in, and then you just follow that plot. I'm awesome at faking book reports.
I was never very good at it, actually. I tried it once, and I felt like everyone could see right through me. Like, I have no idea what this book is about, but I'm gonna BS something, and I made it through it. I don't know what I got on it. I can't remember. I just remember standing up because we had to stand up in front of the class to present our book. And I just remember kind of talking and not really knowing what it was about. And I remember trying to read it. I remember that specific afternoon. I was trying to get through it, and I was falling asleep. Like, I had read, like, a bunch of pages, like, just going through. And all of a sudden, it just kind of shook out of it and was like, what the heck did I just read? Like, it was... I don't know. There was nothing interesting about the book. And I remember I was so concentrated on actually reading it that I didn't get anything. Did you hear something?
I hear something like there's somebody scuttling along.
I don't know if it's me.
I don't think it's that.
No, I don't think so.
It's like in a scary movie where you're like, and they like run behind you and you look and nothing's there. And then you go back to doing what you're doing and you hear a
We'll have to do that in our pod. Like, when we post this, people have to listen for it because we could hear it through the headphones, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. If you hear it, tell us what you think it is. Because we're freaked out right now. It's not even dark yet in the basement. It's getting darker, but it's not dark yet.
Probably ghosts. That's what everything is.
No, it's not ghosts. It's a monster. Those are better. Well, in a bad way. Better in a bad way.
So I went to the movie the other day.
Which one?
Because I'll take my girls on dates.
Yeah, this is the...
And we went and saw Incredibles 2. My second time seeing it because I dated my other daughter. Maybe I shouldn't call it dated.
Yeah, I don't think
that's not a good way to say it.
No, that insinuates too many problems.
So they're 4 and 2. And our dates are like, we go out and do something. Just
a daddy-daughter
the two of us. A daddy-daughter date. Maybe the daddy-daughters. Okay, nah.
Call
Anyways.
it a daddy-daughter day, not a date. You just had a day with your daughter, and you just.
But it doesn't last that long.
No,
I'm not making this any better.
Nope.
But anyways, we went to the movie, and so I have to pee every time I go to the movies because I'll get a large soda pop, and I'll chug it all before like the previews end, and then I'm like, oh crap, I have to go to the bathroom. So when you're just you and a 2-year-old, you can't just do that because you'd have to take them with you and then you have to get them situated and you're like distracting everybody. And so like I just barely sipped my drink. Like I was like, I'm not going to chug it. I'm going to make it last the whole entire movie. So about halfway through the movie, that's when I had to go pee, which is it's pretty big for me. Like I made it that long. So I'm holding it. We get to the end. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to go out into the hall and see if they have one of those family bathrooms. Because I can't take her to, like, the boys' bathroom. Because then in the boys' bathroom, it's like, hey, I don't want you watching Daddy's wiener while I pee.
That causes problems.
Because I'm not just going to set you to the side and, like, leave a 2-year-old abandoned in a men's bathroom. Because that's, like, the start to every child abduction news story. So I didn't want to be that. Because I want to keep her. I mean, I don't want her to be abducted. And then, so I don't want her to see me, but I also don't want her like looking at other guys and being like, hey, Dad, what's that? Or she probably wouldn't say it like that. She'd be like, hey, Dad, what's that? She doesn't have a deep voice. Or like having a guy pee and like look at her. I don't know. There's just like so many situations. And I can't take her to a girl's bathroom because like.
You can't be there.
Yeah, I can't go in there. And so the family bathroom's kind of like the only option. So like I get in the hall. I was like, all right, we're going to do it. Like as soon as the credits started going, we booked it out. And then there's like this 18-year-old boy that like darts straight for the family bathroom and goes straight in. And I was like, you jackass. This isn't like your luxury stall so you can go take a dump and not have to have other people listen to
20 minutes.
you. And so I was just kind of upset with that. So public service announcement to everybody out there is those family bathrooms are meant for families, not for you to poop in privacy, which is awesome. I've done that. So I've been like, oh, I don't want to go use one of those stalls. It's pretty busy. I'll just go to the family one. But after having kids, I realized that was uncool of me. It was still douchey what he did. And I was a douche when I did it. But
yeah, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
And now we realize the pain we caused as kids.
And it also makes me think of like the handicap stalls. I used to think those are like the luxury stalls.
Oh, that's true.
We had one at the church. There's the handicap stall and it had its own sink and everything. So I was like, wash my hands in the
wow.
stall and everything like that. And I realized, like, oh, that'd be like crappy. This guy like rolls up in a wheelchair. He's like waiting for you to get out, and you're like, oh,
Sorry, I was taking my time.
I'm like the only person in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And I just had to pee. I just think it's cool that I get my luxury stall that had like a shelf and its sink, and it just felt important.
You got your
now I'm
bathrobe
realizing
and you're
how-
all like...
How uncool that was.
That's true. I actually was scared because I had all 3 of my kids and I had to go to the bathroom really bad at Walmart. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I did not know what to do. I'm like,
There's nothing you can do.
No,
Unless there's a family stall that you can like barricade them all in and lock it.
It was the fastest pee I ever did. I ran it. It's like, all I did was I put them up against the corner as like kind of out of the way to hide them a little bit.
So they're like in the entrance as you're coming in. So they're like in the corner so you can still see them, but like...
Well, kind of.
Not that they can see you very well.
No, well, because the Walmart one I was in, they had like the curve, so you really couldn't see out.
Okay.
So I hid them like away from everyone else, but they were like really close to this, as close as they could be to the doorway and kind of off to the side. I was like, all I did is tell them like, make sure you're here and that no one does anything. I just ran really quick, took a bathroom and ran back, and they were all still there, so I was happy. But it was the scariest moment of my life. Like, well, it's just like, yeah, I don't want to be one of those headlines. It's like
nothing
dad
overstated.
Goes, yeah, dad goes pee and loses his kids.
Yeah. But I really had to go.
I know, and that was the problem. Yeah, I didn't know what to do because it was bad. Like, I had been holding it all day. For I don't know why. Like every time I thought to do it, like I got sidetracked, and then I'm at the store with the kids. All of a sudden, I'm like, I really, really gotta go. Like I can't, get sidetracked again. So it was just a bad situation.
And
Really
like
bad
anybody with
situation.
kids knows how quickly those kids can go gone.
Oh yeah.
How they can go gone so quickly.
Go gone.
Yeah.
Luckily, they were all in the cart, so that was it was kind of it was plus because they were all together. It was
You like go to
probably
the
a
hardware
minus 'cause-
section and get zip ties and zip tie them all to the car and be like, you can't go anywhere.
That's right. So
And I can chase down anybody with a cart.
That's right. It's a lot easier. Like, how can I get you? But anyway, so that was scary. Yeah. So, yeah, family bathrooms. I don't know if a family bathroom would have helped in that situation much. Like, not really.
No, you take them all into the bathroom and there's enough room so they all just like stand by the sink and you're like, all right, guys, I gotta go.
I don't know. It just seems no. That doesn't seem much better.
I guess it depends on the age of the kid.
Well,
Like, what age do your kids can't see you do stuff like that anymore?
I don't know.
'Cause,
Because it's
like-
hard. I feel like I can't remember much past 5. Like anything younger than 5 years old.
But you're like banking on that. Like, if you had something
Right.
that was like
Some kids-
memorable enough,
yeah, that's the
like,
problem.
they're like, man, I remember seeing my dad's penis and being like, that was really weird.
Yeah, that was messed up.
It's
How
like, oh
old
crap,
was I?
now it's a memory. It's engraved.
Yeah, too much. Too much happened.
Because
Yeah.
I've been on vacation all week and Zoe was like, I was like, oh, Zoe, I'll be right back. I gotta go to the bathroom. She's like, I want to watch. And I was like,
no, you don't.
no, you don't. There's
Nothing to
no.
watch.
And she's like, yeah, me watch. And like kept following me. I was like, no, I'm going to go. And so I had to like get someone else to take her because she wasn't going to let me go by myself.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
So I'm sure all the moms out there are like, "Pff, you're telling me I haven't been able to go to the bathroom by myself in years.
That's probably true.
Yeah,
So did you see Ant-Man?
I did.
I saw Ant-Man.
I love Ant-Man. I think Paul Rudd's funny.
He is funny.
Anything is in, I'll watch.
Yeah. He is pretty funny. But I thought Ant-Man was pretty good.
And sometimes there's people you're like, I bet they're cool in real life. That's how I see Paul Rudd.
He could be. Oh, did you see him? He did a appearance on. Have you ever heard of Dude Perfect? Oh, well, Dude Perfect is a YouTube channel. They do a lot of like trick shots and stuff. They're really cool. But they had Paul Rudd on there once. And he seemed like a cool dude.
I can see him having like a sarcastic humor, which would be like, oh, that guy was a jerk. But it's just the way he makes jokes.
Yeah, possibly. I can't remember a whole lot, but he seemed like he was a pretty cool guy in that episode of Dude Perfect. You should watch it. It's really cool. They do some really cool trick shots.
Is this where they like go to like
they go on like a helicopter ride and throw a basketball out and make it.
Okay. The crazy thing is like how many times they have to shoot those things.
Oh yeah.
I saw one where a guy throws a ball like off a bridge and like he spins it and it like goes into a basket. I was like, and then they'll put in the comments like, "Oh, I made it on the third try." Or,
and you're like, I don't know how many tries.
You probably spent like weeks.
There's a good chance.
And then like, is it worth it? When it finally makes it, like, oh yeah, that's cool, but that's like a 3-second clip. I just spent weeks of my life on a 3-second clip.
I don't know.
Couldn't do it.
No, I couldn't spend that much time as they do trying to get them, but when they get them, they look really cool. Yeah.
The ones where they have like ping pong balls and like bounce them off stuff and they land in cups, those are pretty cool.
Yep, they've done that one. They've done a lot of those.
I wonder if it's the same people I'm thinking of. And I've seen like
no, there's a lot of different
ones.
You might have seen them. I recommend them though. They are really cool.
I like watching fail videos with little kids.
Oh, the fails?
Yeah, it's hard to find them because you got to find some that are like appropriate for kids.
Yeah, I'm like, there's some fail ones that aren't the greatest fails.
But like a lot of times they don't even think it's funny, but they know that they're supposed to laugh at it. So then you hear like their fake laughs and they're like trying to be cool and laugh at things.
Like funniest home video fails?
Yeah, like funniest home video style. Although sometimes those can get pretty racy.
Yeah, some of them, I guess.
I remember seeing someone's game like, whoa, just saw bra. Yo, bro. Family home videos. Not my family home videos.
Well, not family
America's
home videos.
Funniest Home
Funniest
Videos.
Home Videos.
The TV show. Not that my family videos were racy. And I was like, oh yeah, bra.
Whoopsie.
Clarification there.
Whoopsie. Those are the things.
Yeah, it's weird that like there's been a lot of Marvel movies and then they just stopped speaking of Batman. Sorry. I don't know if we're done with that or not.
No, I don't think so.
My brain goes all over the place. Yeah, there's like Captain Marvel and then Avengers, and that's like pretty much it, right?
That should hopefully end it, but I don't think it will.
Well, I think that's just like
did you see
one of their
trailers?
phases. Like they're gonna do more after that, but
yeah, but I was really excited with Ant-Man and the Wasp. It did really well. I was not expecting the after credit scene.
Spoiler alert: when they turn into
Thanos.
dust. Yeah,
they got Thanos.
Well, now he's stuck in there, so I wonder.
Well, and did you hear the one-liner? Do you think they're gonna mess with time? Where she's like, "Don't get into one of those time hole or time warp wormholes or something or whatever, or we can't get you out." Before he went in. And that was like the only quick one-liner, and I'm like, "Oh, time is gonna play a part in this. Ant-Man's gonna go back in time."
How cool would it be if Ant-Man's like the savior,
hero, the saver?
That'd be pretty cool.
He's gonna be the guy that goes in and saves everyone from being Thanos. He'll be like, "Hey, Thor, just push your axe a little to the left, and then nail him right in the noggin." And then it goes. That would save everything.
I remember when they announced like they're gonna do an Ant-Man, and I was like, "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, how is he even a superhero?" And then they just make it cool. Like they find ways to like.
What would be cool with an Ant-Man? It's like, this is it.
Like when they're like throwing a Pez and they make it big and it like takes out a car.
Yeah. I think the fun thing was size. I think there's a lot of inconsistencies in that movie though.
And a lot of them, yeah.
Well, this one in particular, because in the first one they talked about like how when he shrank himself and he like ran towards somebody, he'd be like a bullet. Like his density was just like so heavy that he could hit people being small and it would actually knock them. But yet, like in this movie, they're picking up like their toy cars and the buildings and stuff. It's like, isn't all the density of that building in that small space? So it's like, it still would technically be the same, right? I don't know.
So if it like shrunk that building,
it would still be as heavy.
Asphalt.
Yeah, it would still be the same weight. It would just be in a smaller area.
Yeah.
Anyway, but they make it so light, and I'm like,
do you have like special tires on the car when the car shrinks too?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I remember in physics we had to like take a scene from a movie and then like go through the physics of it. And the one I picked was Speed, when they have the bus and they jump the bridge. So they go on like a flat plane. Like there's not even like a ramp or like it's
Anything to give them
down
some air?
a story or something like that. They just drive straight, and it's like a 20-foot gap, and they're on a bus going like 55. So I mean, it's a pretty easy one to rip apart. But I went like in the detail of like I looked at the force and like the weight, how much like tires can hold as far as pressure, and if like the bus was going that fast and landed with that weight, like it would have blown out all the tires. So I went all into that.
See, I never even thought of that.
It was actually a really cool assignment to do in like a physics class, because we had a lot of them that like went like I was by myself. I didn't have a partner. I was just like, I'll just do it myself. But there's other people that like put a lot of time and effort into it. Mine was pretty easy, so I was like, oh yeah, so you can't just drive straight and not ever like decline. We have gravity. Like it doesn't work. And I could have stopped there, but like I tried to make it
A little more interesting.
a little better. But they did some with like Get Smart. Like he falls out of the airplane and then like they jump out and then they dive through the air and they go to catch him. But if you look at like how fast an airplane goes, like the time it took for them to jump out after them, like they would have been like so many miles apart. And if like
that's true, huh?
one person jumped out and the other person like jumped out immediately, and like just with the timing, so let's not even take that distance they had to go, just the timing and having to go as fast to like grab that person, you would have just crushed him and killed him.
Oh, man.
There's another one where I don't know if it was one of the Bourne movies or another one where there's like a safe and it falls into the water and they open it underwater, but like the pressure would have been different because like the pressure inside the tank and then the pressure from like the ocean pushing onto it.
Oh, right.
Like you wouldn't have been able to open the tank or open the safe.
And that, I believe, yeah, because I heard that's the issue even when you're in a car that's sinking. They tell you to let the water in, otherwise you can't open the door.
Yeah.
Because the air pressure in the water holds it in.
Yeah, so all the pressure is pushing in on those doors, so you can't do it. That's why they have like things you can put in your car that's like a steel rod, but it's pointy at the end, and so you push it against the window and you just push really hard and it makes it shatter. And so when it shatters, it'll fill up the car, and as soon as it's filled up, then you can
get out
and swim.
Yeah, I've heard like roll down the windows and all those kinds of things.
They did one on like they had wooden catapults throwing limestone in Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah.
So they looked at like the weight of the stone.
Wait, the trebuchet
and like
stuff?
Yeah.
Aren't those able to? I thought they would be.
They just looked at like the size of the rock and everything like that, and what you would need to take, throwing. And you couldn't do it with like a wood or something like that. I can't remember.
That would make sense.
What went on.
Yeah, because I'm like, I thought trebuchets could throw a lot, but maybe not what they were throwing.
Well, no, there's a lot of cool ones, especially if this was a class I took like 8+ years ago, and I'm still remembering this much.
It had quite the impact on your psyche.
I think you could make a TV show just on that.
Probably.
Where you go. And so instead of like, this is how it should have ended. Yeah. Pretty much like Mythbuster, but like just for movies, not on Myths.
Right, this is what would happen in the...
Yeah.
That would, I think, have they done that before? It seems like something that they should have done. Yeah.
Like they should have. How it should have ended, which like it makes sense.
How it would have happened?
Yeah.
This is how it would have happened.
Because you have like the Titanic one, and I remember thinking of this when I saw the movie. Like, I'm sure most people did. Was like, why don't you just like get on the door with them?
Yeah.
In fact, I think that was one of the physics ones where they said that they couldn't do it.
Oh, really?
Like with the door
the
and how it was.
And all this, whatever.
Yeah. And then if you like take turns, then they're both cold, so they'll probably both die.
I don't know. That's a messed up set.
But it's pretty dramatic to let just him die and be like, oh yeah, I'm totally cool. If you just, pun intended. Not really intended. You just chill on that door and I'll freeze to death.
You can watch me die.
But we've known each other for like 3 days now. Like it's been an awesome time.
Well, I mean, you got to experience a lot of her in that 3 days.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy if you like when you look back on things like they let all like the rich people go, and there's tons of people that like couldn't get on the boats because they weren't packing them enough. And it's crazy how stuff like that happens, and people have to die because of it.
Did you ever see the movie Sully? It's a good movie. You should watch it. I liked it. I thought it was actually really well done and a good movie overall.
I heard. Did you ever listen to Mike Rose podcast? Mike Rose is a cool guy.
Mike Rose?
Yeah,
I thought you were saying Micro.
The way I heard it, and he does like they're pretty short. They're usually like 10 minutes. But he'll tell a story of a famous person, and he doesn't tell you who that famous person is till the end.
Oh yeah,
so he
you
gives
were
like
telling me
a
about
story that you haven't heard. Because I guess Colonel Sanders like shot and killed a guy back when he was just a gas station selling his chicken. Like that was one example, but there was one on like the guy that they brought in to help talk about the movie was in a plane crash before, and I think he was in a plane crash with like Clint Eastwood. I'm probably really butchering the story, but it was pretty cool. So he was like in a plane crash and survived, and then he's the one that helped him do the Sully movie. That'd be scary. Planes are scary for me. I don't like them.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. Like, it's nice
Like
when you
shake
get
a ton and everyone's chill, and you're like, why are you guys so chill?
Yeah, like, we're gonna die.
So I just start screaming that at the little kids. We're all gonna die.
Yeah, like, it's nice to get from one place to another really quick, but at the same time, I'm not a huge fan of flying. I'm not a huge fan of driving. I'll be a huge fan of the instant teleportation.
Yeah, when they get that figured out.
That'll be the time I'll be like, you know what? Now they got it. This is the thing I can do where it's like, I'm going to go visit someone. Boop. And then you just pop there. Just like that.
That'll be exciting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh my.
So anyways, let's make a TV show where we just go over the physics
Okay.
of movies. And just say, hey,
I don't
this
know
is
much about
stupid.
physics. So, that's it. I'll bring up the things that you gotta research because I know nothing about physics.
I don't think I'm good enough to like put that out there and not have somebody grading my paper and be like, all right, John, that was a B. And be like, all right. I don't think I can make a TV show off B material. I need to be like the A+ guy that's like super good at this. Just
the guy
hire a
that's
physicist.
the guy that the only class he got an A in was that guy. Everything else he sucked at. He was so good. It was just like, that was it.
I do remember in OChem, we had to do like a project at the end of the year and like find out how to synthesize something and like present it to the class. I did mine on meth.
You synthesized
I
meth? Did you make it in class?
I didn't make it in class, but I like
that would be funny.
went through like step by
And this
step
is
on how to
meth.
make it at home.
Oh boy.
And if you were doing it in the OChem lab.
That's when you say, here you go, teach. This'll...
Crazy thing was it was an easy one to research because there's a lot of info online. You just go, how do you make meth? And then tons of recipes out there. And so you didn't have to do much research. I just had to put it together.
Have it on that was one of the continuing educations for pharmacy tech letter.
It was how to make meth.
Yeah.
Well, like a lot of people that go like emergency services and
How to do it through Sudafed anyway.
yeah, I have a guy. I don't know if it was military or like something for the fire department, but they like go and they learn how to make all that stuff, so you know how to like
don't ever
contain
grab
it
this
when you're
common
fighting virus.
household item and don't ever cook it at this temperature and don't ever, and you're like, I think I'm writing all this down.
I think you need to watch Breaking Bad. Have you watched Breaking Bad?
I've heard a lot about it, but I haven't yet.
It's so good.
Oh, the guy at work showed me the clip that was actually pretty funny. It was where it was before he may have been already diagnosed. So it's early on in the series.
I think it's
He
like
still had his hair.
first or second scene in like the first episode.
Yeah,
Where
where
he
he's,
finds out.
okay, it was probably
So it's probably
it was the one where he's like, it's like some guy at a shop that I guess used to help him, but he wasn't gonna help him with something or whatever, and he's like, it's all F you and your eyebrows.
Oh yeah. That was his old employer. He worked at the car wash.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Like, I'm like, how do you keep a straight face?
And like
I would have laughed so many times doing that line. I'd be like, and your eyebrows, and then just bust it up, and then he like, I don't know, grabs his crotch at him, which I thought was I'm like, okay,
It's
whatever.
like the sucker thing goes.
I guess,
Michael Jackson.
I'm like, what is that? Like, and he's like trying to. I don't know how he stayed straight because I would have busted up laughing. Like, 'cause then he starts to like trash some of his shelves a little bit and different things, and he's like all angry as he's leaving, and I'm like, what's the way he was? Like, I don't know if I was the guy who owned the shop, if I would have laughed.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing, man? Like, I'm sorry for you, but what are you doing?
That's just another day in the pharmacy, though.
I know, seriously.
What? I can't have my Norco?
And then we get the Michael Jackson.
And I get a lot, too, with me and my bushy eyebrows. They're like, F you and your eyebrows, John.
Oh, that's so funny, though. I'm like...
Turns out, though, that he ends up buying the car wash from the guy. And that's how he launders his money. Because it's like a high cash flow business.
Oh.
So you're able to, like, a lot of cash transactions, so you're able to launder money a little bit better.
It's easier to hide.
Yeah. With the help of Saul Goodman and his wife, Skylar.
Better call Saul.
She was an accountant, so she helped him.
Fudge some numbers.
Even after she found out he got it from making meth.
She just kept helping him. Did they get a skim off the top of the meth profits?
Tons of profit.
Oh, so that's
he was
why.
like an empire, yeah, by the end
Well,
of
no,
it.
I'm talking about the accountant lady. Did they
it
get
was his
some of the
wife.
money?
It was his wife.
So Saul got the money, and
Saul gets a little bit. The lawyer does.
Yeah.
But the accountant's his wife, so I mean they split everything.
was he getting a good amount though from helping out?
So like, I don't know. They say how much he gets, but he does pretty well. All he has to do is provide legal, and they also like help set things up. Being like, oh, I know this criminal that does this kind of stuff, so maybe you need to talk to him. Like he knows like a hitman, bodyguard type person. And you get to find out more about them in the spin-off with Better Call Saul. But, man, it's a good show. I need to go back and rewatch it.
Just
I don't
a
have
well-done
time to
show.
rewatch.
Yeah, I don't. Well, actually, I have been rewatching Psych with my wife at night.
I saw that on
We just
Netflix,
watched
and I was
those.
like, maybe I should
Is
do
it?
that. Not Netflix, maybe it was Hulu.
It has to be.
I saw it on
Hulu.
something.
Maybe it's on Netflix. That'd be crazy.
Maybe it was available to buy on Amazon Prime. I
And
remember
that's
being like, hey,
possible.
we could watch that.
Because I like Psych.
But I'm to the point now I have a big list of shows to watch, but like I don't have enough time to like binge them, and so I'm like, I'll wait till I have enough time to binge that. But I'm just like delaying it even farther.
Right. What we do, like with the Psych, like every night we watch like 1 or 2 episodes, then go to bed. But we, right now we're like on season 5. Like, and we started right at the very beginning. But it's taken us like months, but I think it's the only way to really get through those. I think it's better than binge watching sometimes. And Psych's the kind of show that you don't really have to binge watch because there's not like the overall arc of the show isn't so much that you would miss anything. I don't know. By skipping some episodes.
Oh, sorry, I got really close to the microphone.
Did you get close?
So
to the mic.
I play on my phone a lot, and so sometimes I'm like, let's not watch this. I have to think too hard.
Right.
Like Westworld is one.
Oh yeah, that one
you have
just
to
looked
think.
messy. I only saw the trailer for that, and I was like, well, probably done with that.
They do it really well. Like it's a pretty well done.
It's
show.
messed up enough
Like-
that it works somehow.
And it's a cool concept. You just have to keep up with it, or else you lose.
Like it's not one you
What
could
details,
watch and leave and then come back and be like,
Yeah, like you're not going to predict things that happen episodes ahead. Like they don't give you enough information, I think, to work it through. But when it's finally revealed, then you can start putting all the pieces back together. So if you miss something, then you can't put those pieces together, and then you don't feel as great. You're just like, oh, that came out of nowhere.
yeah, those kinds of shows where, yeah, if you miss an episode, you're like, what the heck? Like, yeah. Psych's not like that. That's why it's pretty easy to just watch them because each episode's pretty self-contained. So it's like there's not a whole lot to.
Can you think of any
catch
movie
up on.
that there's movies and they're either like blatantly obvious, like, oh yeah, that's the bad guy, and you know right from the beginning, or there's some they're like, oh, they're the bad guy. Like there was no direction that it would have been that person. Do you know of any movies that play that just right? And so you're like, oh, I could have got that if I was paying more attention. Or like, oh yeah, that makes sense, but it's still surprising. That was maybe a weird question to ask out of nowhere.
I don't know. Where a bad guy is kind of, well, it's a kid's movie. Coco kind of did that. I wasn't really expecting him to be a murderer.
Yeah.
Coco. That was a bit of a twist for me. I was like,
but I felt like there wasn't enough like foreshadowing to like
to show
lead you
you
to that conclusion. Like nothing, like you didn't see the dad's face, and so like there wasn't much of a hint that that dude's his dad.
I don't know. Like it was kind of because there's some spots where Hector says, you know, that him and what's his name? I don't remember. Anyway, well, how he had played music. Anyway, just there's little subtle things. The more I've watched it several times with kids, but they actually have hints, but not like major hints.
I cry every time I watch it. I don't cry very often.
No, but it's a tough one. Like
I'm pretty apathetic. Like nothing phases me. I'm like, oh yeah, that person died, whatever.
Yeah.
But that one, when he's like at the end, when he's like singing to the grandma.
Oh yeah.
But he's singing for the grandma's dad
to remember. Yeah. So
he didn't get to like see grow up, and it's his great grandma.
It's a strong movie, that's for sure.
It had a lot of different factors going on. I was like, oh
yeah, it did its job. I'm trying to think if there's a good,
especially if you have a little girl. I think that makes it.
Yeah, that did make it. That does make it stronger. Only you.
You take on dates. Take on dates. Maybe that sounds better than, yeah, I date my daughters. I take my daughters on dates and we go get ice cream, or we'll go to the movie, or I'll take them to a store and buy them things.
You could just leave it at that and leave out date entirely.
That's probably the best play.
Probably the safest one. Today's society, you know, I'm sure back in, you know, in the Mayberry days with Andy Griffith, you could say that and no one would care.
Mm-hmm.
No one would think you.
I dated my daughter and it sure was swell.
I don't know of any other movies that had a really good.
It's one or the other. It's either like out of nowhere, or if it's.
Did you think Unbreakable?
Unbreakable?
Do you remember that M. Night Shyamalan movie with Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson?
They're doing a sequel
Glass.
to it.
Did you see the trailer?
I did.
I'm actually excited for that.
I can't remember enough of that. All I remember is like he's unbreakable,
right?
And the other dude's glass, and like his weakness was like water.
The hero, Bruce Willis.
Had you seen Signs, then maybe that would have been. I think that one came out before Signs, or was it after?
No, Signs came out after.
That's coming after K.
Because I think it went Sixth Sense, then Unbreakable.
Then Signs should have made sense too, where you're like, oh. It's water. Water's your weakness.
Everything's water.
And on that glass trailer, you see like he's always by water. It's.
Was he?
What a stupid weakness.
It is kind of a weird one.
I think it's a weakness. For his like character, like him not being able to swim or whatever is his weakness. Having all the aliens die from water, like that's a stupid plot twist.
Yeah, because all the aliens would have. I mean, when the world's like 90% water.
yeah. So the world's like covered in water, and like, let's go invade this planet
and see what resources is there. Oh, looks like there's a lot of H2O.
And they're killing all these people, and we're like, we're the majority of us is water. Like, I don't get.
Oh no, that's weird too. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
So if you bleed on it, they'd probably die.
Like, there's too much water in your blood. Like, I don't know.
I have to find all the dehydrated people.
So, like, The Sixth Sense, that was really good.
That one's good.
Like, when you go back and you look through, it's like, oh, yeah, I can maybe piece that together. Like, you can't really, like, you wouldn't think, oh, yeah, he's dead. Like, the way they did it. But when you see it again, you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense that he's dead. True. Everything's, like, falling to pieces.
That was a good, yeah.
Like, I don't think you predicted that one, but that one was pretty good. That was, like, totally shocking, but, like, they give you quite a few clues and hints.
Yeah.
They just didn't make any sense until you saw it all together.
Right. I'm trying to think of, like, with a bad guy, though. Like an unexpected twist where it's like, he's the bad guy? Actually, did you ever see
We should do a movie.
Now You See Me?
And yeah.
That one sucked. Did you see the first one?
I remember the ending being like, that was stupid.
It was such a fart in the face. I was like, what the crap? I was so upset. But the cop, the whole time following the horsemen or whatever it is, the other street magicians, he ended up being the guy like orchestrating the whole thing.
Yeah. So those are the things where it's just like
it was stupid.
It's so out of there that like there's no way for us to like put this together.
No, it was
think
just
about it.
Stupid.
So it's usually either that or it's like super obvious.
Right.
So when you have a movie where you're like, oh, okay. So I think Sixth Sense would maybe be a good one.
That would be a good twist.
Yeah, I don't think you can put it together.
Would be hard though. I'm trying to think of a villain.
We should do a movie though where the good guy that you're following the whole entire time, he actually is the villain. Wouldn't that be a twist? No, that would be stupid. I just make fun of those.
I thought Wanted did that. Did that movie do that? I've only heard about it. I actually haven't seen it.
Which one's Wanted? Is that where you twist bullets?
Yeah. With what's her name?
Angelina Jolie.
Jolie, yeah, Jolie and another guy. But anyway, yeah.
Like, I'll say she's probably crazy, but I still like her. I'm Team Angelina. And it's probably just because I was in love with her as a teenager.
Yeah. I was
also in love with Britney Spears, and that didn't work out.
I don't think that worked out for anybody.
It totally, like, I was like, oh yeah, she's the greatest. And then she went crazy, and like, it went back to like having no interest at all. It was crazy how fast that flips.
It does go fast. Well, it's just surprising how, the media can change your perception of somebody really fast.
They kind of talk. They go above that. Have you seen Incredibles 2?
No, not yet.
Well, that's like the whole purpose of like Incredibles 2 is superheroes are like illegal.
That was the first one too.
Yeah. So the whole second one is you get this guy and he's like, I'm your PR guy pretty much, and we're going to change your perception of how people view you, and like they use the media to like change their view on things. They give them like body cams, kind of like what they're doing with cops nowadays. And so they're just trying to change their perception, and then it makes you think of like, oh yeah, that's pretty much how media is. We have that a lot with going on right now with Trump.
With everything, yeah.
We got crowd sizes and tons of different stuff. I feel like the way media is now, it's so...
It's propaganda?
Yeah, all of it. Like, it used to be, I think, more subtle, maybe?
I think it was just more subtle. It wasn't so
like, I think it's always been a problem, but now they're just like, people are either right or left. We can just...
Well, it's funny because when you think about it, you can't express an idea with your reasoning behind it without it being somewhat propagandish. Like, no one goes out and explains why they believe something to somebody else without without some element of, propaganda aspect to it. Maybe that's the wrong word for propaganda, but
taught to solve our problems like that in school though. Like they're like, hey, here's your problem. Now go find sources to back up your information to this.
Yeah, so it's
and then do your intro, body, conclusion, report your topic. Where it should be like, hey, here's a problem. How about you research into it and then present both sides, and then your conclusion is what you feel is the right thing.
Right. And I think there's just the difference between like super heavy propaganda and like lighter propaganda. Like telling a story, or like the typical hero's journey of someone overcoming something is nice, but all the stuff they learn in the middle of everything or during their struggles, it's like they're obviously pushing for something.
Like when they fake something, they should be called out hard for it, and they should lose all credibility, and that should be like career ending for people in the news. Because like,
if they what? Say that again.
If they like show to be like exaggerating something or like,
pushing.
They had the refugees like, so they're taking like children away from families, and like I'm not denying that happened. Like it did, and I think it's terrible, and I think it's also like terrible that they don't have a better system in place for like tracking those kids to get back with their families.
Right. All
And
sorts
instead
of
of
different
worrying
things.
about something. Okay. So anyways, it makes me mad. But at the same time, then you have the news that's like taking it way too far instead of being like kind of neutral and like discussing and then like giving you your own thoughts.
They just tell you it's bad. You should think it's bad. And if you don't, you're
They
a
take
horrible
pictures
person.
of like kids crying in cages,
And then use
and then
that
you
as
find
your
out
front.
the source for that picture is actually a protest of it, where they got this big cage and kids were playing with it, just as a sign of like don't cage kids. So they took a picture of that and put it as like that was the cages they were using for the kids.
Yeah, that's
And so it's
irritating.
like don't do stuff like that, because like you have a good message that we shouldn't be caging up little kids, separating from the parents. I think when you take that and then you take a picture that's not really it and you associate it with that event and then people find out that it's fake, like you've lost all your credibility. Now there's tons of people that are like, oh, now it's all fake, and then they don't believe anything that just happened. And
Well, it's definitely
hurts so
in
much.
the editorial world. Like, they can't have any room for exaggeration. Because as soon as they do, like you said, it already shifts.
it should be
Yeah.
strictly factual.
Yeah, like they can't have any
They should be
kind.
presenter of facts, not
Right. It's like,
presenter of opinions.
You can say this happened. The end. Like no, you can't embellish anything about it. We can't say this horrible thing happened. You have to just say this happened. People have to decide whether it was, how horrible it was, or look into it deeper to see, oh, this was not the whole story, kind of thing. Like that's just one element of it. Like you were saying with the kids in the cages, where it's like those aren't the cages they're in, but they make it sound like it and make it look like it. So everyone who, before they even read the story, or they're like already have this mental shift of, oh, this is horrible. And not to say it isn't horrible, but the degree of horribleness is like, it's all relative, I guess.
Yeah, like I try not to watch local news because that's like all it is. Like they'll be like, "Oh, that's so sad. All 27 of the kids died." Now with sports, we gotta do that. And like they're so fake. It's hard to do it, and then
it is sad.
it's all just a way to dramatize things to get viewers, and it's frustrating.
Sad. Yeah, it is frustrating too, because
So I try to stick. Like I think NPR is pretty good.
I don't like being told what to think. I like people telling me what's going on, and then I'll, be able to sort through it and kind of make up my own mind.
And the sad thing is, you think just presenting facts would be like, people would want that enough that your incentive to do it is just because, that's what people want. So that's what people are going to watch, and that's what people are going to pay ads to be on, so you get your money and everything. But it's not. The world's sad.
It's become too automated. We've pushed so much to do what you want, and then someone else will take care of the things that most people and back in the day had to do on their own. It's like we have so many cyber assistants where it's like we don't even have to think much about what we are doing half the time. I don't know.
The older I get, the more I'm like, maybe we need less government. Because I feel like if you have the government and they're the enforcer of things, but then they're easily persuaded by like big companies with money.
Oh yeah, anything,
because they want to get
their
their thing that helps like maybe their company but hurts everybody else.
Right.
But if they pay the politician enough, then they can convince other politicians to vote for this thing.
Yeah.
So if we had less power by the government, or less things that they had their hands in, that those people wouldn't survive as much. The ones that are like, oh hey, pass this bill to help my one company.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of conflicts of interest that they never really bring to a head, but they're always there.
Yeah, because there's some things that you have to regulate,
right?
Like you do. Like I'm not saying get rid
no
of police.
Government, yeah.
Like we need police and we need infrastructures and stuff like that. But I feel like maybe they have their nose in more business than they should.
That is the truth, and I feel the same way too. The more I see it, it's like, as much as it's nice to have the thought of someone else taking care of you, it's like it's not the way it was meant to be, I guess.
I think it hurts the system
it does.
overall.
Because then everyone wants that, and no one wants to take care of the other person.
That's why I like this basic income thing too.
You think so?
I don't think it's maybe worked that great. and all their trials. But like, I like the thought of it. I think it's like everyone gets like 30 grand a year or something like that.
Yeah,
If you have a job, if you don't have a job, anything like that, and then you get rid of everything else.
I have a
no
feeling,
more food stamps or
I don't know,
subsidized things. It's just that's
know.
included in your 30 that you get.
I think it should all be state driven with that kind of stuff.
State by state.
I think welfare in general should be state and charity. I don't think government, federal, especially not federal, but if states want to do it, that's fine. If they figure out a way to sustain themselves on whatever welfare programs they've got, great. But as a federal thing, no.
Well, that's pretty much like anarchism. So not like. So it's having like less state regulation, and people will kind of provide for themselves. Like it's more community based and not government based.
I would think more community.
That people will help other people out just from their goodness.
Well, and I think that
like if the government wasn't providing for them, like local churches and things like that would be providing for them.
Yep, I think that's the best way to go. Mainly because I don't know about you, but when you look at your deductions from your paycheck for all the different programs, and you're like, I don't see any of this. I don't see who it's benefit. I don't. You don't get to feel like. I don't know. I think there's a feeling that you get when you actually feel like you've done something outside of what's expected. Where it's like we're expected to get deductions from tech, all that stuff, on a paycheck basis. Like no matter where you get it, it's like it's gone. You don't even get to see it. And it's like it's different if they gave it to you and said, "What are you going to do with it?" And you're like, you know what? I should give it to somebody else. And then you get to actually feel the emotional reward from actually helping someone out versus, you get callous with, oh, they're taking care of it. And you kind of just brush it off. I don't know. That's how I feel. But
yeah, I listened to a Stuff You Should Know podcast. They're great. So anybody listening to this and you like podcasts, Stuff You Should Know should definitely be one of them. But they did a live show on how Pintos would blow up and start on fire really easily.
Oh, of a car.
The Ford Pintos.
Oh, I'm like a Pinto mean?
But I guess they took all the proceeds from that live one, and then each of the two people, there's Josh and Chuck, picked a charity. And one of the charities, Josh, his was for mentally challenged people, and they were trying to push a bill to go through that would make it so that if like somebody, I don't know if it was like specifically for Down syndrome or if it was for all mental handicaps.
Okay.
Where if they got like a job and private insurance, they wouldn't lose their like state insurance because they have a lot of like medical bills,
right?
If you have them that stuff, and they didn't want them to like not get a job or not feel like they have purpose or they can do things and like let them do things like that because they didn't want to lose their government funding for other things like that. So they wanted to get something in place where they could still have those jobs but not have to worry about losing their state benefits. Oh,
so they could still work but then still have the benefits.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that would be something cool with like basic income.
I think that would be
if you had your basic income, you're not worried about getting a job and losing your welfare or food stamps. It'd be like, oh, I can only work 20 hours or I lose my disability. Because that does happen. So instead, if you got it regardless of what was happening, then you'd be like, oh yeah, I can go work and do more stuff with my time and
it makes
have that purpose that makes me feel like a person and doing stuff.
Well, and it makes sense too because not only, do they eliminate the fear, I guess, of losing that, but the more they contribute to society through whatever job or whatever they're doing, it's like they're going to be pouring more back into those programs that are helping them as well. I don't know. It's kind of a circle of life, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just makes more sense to me to do that as well. Where it's like, these people that, typically wouldn't be your people you'd think could hold a job or have a job or whatever. It's like, no, it's like get them jobs so that they're actually doing something. Yeah. And then, the money that they're making, some of that goes back to the programs that they're in, and then those programs help them out. And it's like a, circle. I don't know, just kind of makes its way back around. Anyway.
But there's another Stuff You Should Know podcast, and they talked about jobs that are like no longer a thing anymore, like chariot racers and it was other things like that. But they talked about this guy that predicted way back when that by 2030, which he was wrong, that nobody would have jobs, like technology and automation would have taken over everything. And then it's like, what do we do then? And I was like, that's an interesting concept. Like, let's say we have what used to be like skilled laborers, but now we don't really need those anymore because we can just make this assembly line and machines can do all that work. So all those people, now what do we do? Does machines just work for us? And how does like currency and everything get to us? Or is automation just going to provide food and housing and everything for us? Because we've got people that make the automation stuff,
right? And that's
and
where
upkeep it.
Well, it's the same
and
thing.
Put things together, plan and organize.
Let's just look at the car industry in itself. I mean, there's the people who design them, and then there's the people or the factories. I guess a lot of the machines that build them, but then there's all the mechanics that fix them. It's like the mechanics didn't design it. They don't. They'd probably. I don't think.
However, if we didn't have machines to do it, then we'd have people building all these things. Right. So you don't lose all your jobs, but you reduce the amount of jobs that are out there. So if we had a basic income, that's another thing. Yeah. Then the people right there that would have been the person sitting in a line and screwing on a button or something like that. That's what all they do. They're just the part in that line where they screw on all these things. They're not needed anymore. So now
what was it? I heard lately that right now
they're still taken care of, but
I don't know where this number came from, but I guess it was a few months back. I heard that there was actually a job for every person in the U.S. Like there was if everyone actually went out, not like a high paying like the CEO job for everyone in the U.S., but there was a job.
So we looked at the number of jobs open versus jobless people.
Yeah, like of unemployed people, and there was enough for every person if they actually went and got it. A job.
But now it's like
not the most
matching those people up. So maybe there's like tons of jobs in like North Dakota, but tons of people living in LA without a job and they don't want to move to North Dakota.
See, and that's something interesting though. So now in that situation, whose problem is it? Is it
It's North Dakota's problem and LA's problem.
Yeah, like
they got a lot of people without jobs, and the other one has a lot of jobs they can't fill.
But see, that's where I'm curious though, where it's because if there's jobs somewhere, is it the individual's responsibility to go find work, or is it the state's responsibility to provide work for who's staying there? Like, whose real responsibility is it in that situation where it's like, there are jobs out there, but to say, well, I want to live here, well, it's like, fine, but if there's no jobs, then you're going to be stuck homeless. When they're like, well, I don't want to be homeless. Like, you're kind of in a pickle. Because it's like, there's no jobs here. You're not going to have one unless you go somewhere else.
So do you have a right to live wherever you want to
and
to
you
have a job?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, is it? And that's, I don't know. My initial impression would say no. Like, I think it's more the individual responsibility to go find work and actually, provide for themselves. I don't know. That's my initial thing. I don't know. Maybe it'll change over time. But, like, I mean, the state has so much, only needs so much to sustain itself. Not all the states are the same. Not all of them have the same population. So it's like, if everyone all of a sudden's like, we're all going to live in California and the whole U.S. just migrates to California. It's like, and then there's a bunch of jobs in the East, but everyone's wanting to live in the West. It's like,
so with like a free market with no government regulation, would it fix the problem? Because if there's nobody providing you things, then you're going to have to go to these other spots, and you just let the market take for it. And these spots that can't get enough people, they're just going to raise how much they pay people, and that's how they're going to get more people to move there. And so if we just let it be, will like the systems balance? And
I think it would, because I don't think, unless we have that many stubborn people in the U.S. where it's like, I ain't moving from this spot until a job comes here. It's like, fine. I don't know. And then like half the U.S. dies off because they just don't want to move. I don't know. Like, I think most people are like, you know what? I really like this area, but I think it would be worth it if I actually, had a job and was able to provide for myself and a family if they have one and all this kind of stuff versus just, just sitting on their spot and waiting for I don't know, luck to come, I guess. I mean, I don't think a lot of the CEOs were like that, or any of the people that are successful in whatever way you want to look at it. It doesn't just come to you. I mean, how many people win like lotteries and stuff? I mean, that's what that would be like. Yeah. It's like you're sitting in a place that's full of people, limited amount of jobs, and you're just waiting for yours. I don't know. And everyone's looking for the same one. I don't know. It's a tough call. I don't know what else you'd probably think of that. It's a rough one.
I think we have like an overpopulation problem in the world. Like, I think we have a finite number of resources, and like as technology and things advance, like we find better ways to utilize it and ways to shift our resources to something else. But I mean, it's crazy that the world is so good at like recycling and reducing and like keeping the world running. But I wonder, like in the future, how they're gonna to deal with it.
I don't know.
Are we all gonna go? Is it China that you can only have so many kids? Or maybe that's just a rumor that I've never validated. But
no, they did have it, but it's actually it used to be really strongly enforced. I think they've loosened up on it, and I think there's been studies that actually was hurting their prosperity. It was a funny thing.
Well, people were like, I've heard this, getting rid of babies because they wanted. Like, it's not like, I can luck out on the next one, yeah.
Well, they wanted boys. But anyway, they had a lot of problems with their thing. But there was a history graph showing that when the people were prosperous, there was a smaller population. And now there was two different views of looking at that graph. One person said,
"You're so busy, you don't have time to go bang a lot of people."
Well, this is what was funny. It was one person was like,
"I'm too busy to mess around with people."
One person was like, "Look how the population, either plateaued, like stopped increasing, or was actually going down. Was when they were prosperous, or during a time of prosperity." And it was funny. One person was like, "Well, look, if we have less people, there's more resources, so everything prospered." Another perspective was showing it how typically rich people just don't have as many kids. Just in general. And I was like, that is such an interesting take. Like, one person was looking at it as, if we get rid of population, all of a sudden prosperity comes. The other person was looking at it as, if you as you get prosperous, you just don't have as many kids because you're too busy. Like you said, you're just too much. I mean, to get that industrious, I mean, it's no secret. People make fun of it all the time with the workaholic that climbs the ladder of success, has everything he wants, and then ends up with no family, or a family that doesn't want him, or whatever.
All these good, successful genes that aren't passed on.
Right. It's like, well, it's just an interesting. I mean, that story's as old as time.
Because there's that song, I can't think of what it is, but it's "Only Stupid People Are Breeding."
Well, and to an extent, I think it's true.
And like everything's the averages. Like there's tons of like really great people that have tons of kids, and there's tons of like shitty people that don't have any kids. Like, I mean, everything comes out in balances. But I mean, I can definitely see that. You go to like a rural area, and maybe that's more common to have 12 kids, and maybe it's more common not to have a college education. Whereas you go to an urban spot, and maybe that college education is more common, but the 12 kids is maybe less common. And it's all averages. There's always outliers and everything like that. But I can.
Well, and the one thing that I had a teacher tell me once, he's like, everybody is given 24 hours a day, no matter who you are. Everyone has the same amount of time in a day. And then it's like how you use it's up to you. And so if you're spending all your time becoming prosperous, that leaves less time for other things. So, I don't know.
But if you get prosperous enough, then you can start hiring other people to do things you would normally spend your time. You can get a maid, and now you don't have to worry about keeping up on the house.
You can. And
you can get a nanny, and now you can have more kids because you have someone to watch those kids, but you can still do what you want to do.
And that's where I think it changes for a lot of people, because I don't know when enough's enough.
Nobody does, man.
And that's why I don't know if the nanny ever is, it's like, oh, we have a nanny to watch kids. Well, we only need 2 kids. That's done. It's like, well, and I've worked for a couple guys and for like CEOs, guys that are millionaires and have companies and different things. And one thing that I found common between the both of them was they have this just go, go, go. They can't shut off. Like, seriously, their brains, like, they have an idea, they're gone.
Who's this with? Sorry.
What?
Who are these people?
One of the guys, he worked at Xerox.
Oh, so you're saying like
these are people. These are people that
successful.
Yeah, I worked with them.
I thought you were saying nannies.
No,
I was like, nannies are probably go go go.
No,
like if they're doing kids all the time.
No, the guys that were
with the territory.
No, the guys that were. I mean, they're well off. They're like you said, they've got money that he even told me. One of the guys, he's like, both of them. Neither one of them needed to work. They're both at an age and at a point that's like they could retire. They have plenty of money to do whatever little things they want to do. Nothing. But they just are constantly doing stuff. Like the one guy, he had a project to earn some more money, and another guy that he has like 2 or 3 businesses still that his wife wanted him to sell off, but he really can't. Like, he just doesn't know what to do with himself otherwise. Of course, one of them, I don't know how many kids. One of them had, like, was it 8? I think he had 6 and then, like, adopted 2 or something. The other guy, it didn't look like he had too many. He had maybe, like, 3 or 4. But anyway, it was just crazy. And the one guy, he had, like, a house in California and a house in Idaho and another one in Salt Lake. And it's like, and he had like a yacht. I think I told you about that. It was the first time I ever saw a yacht magazine, and I'm like, they actually have that? I'm like, and they had the prices next to it. I'm like, this is way out of my price range.
It's like, we sell 1 yacht a year, but that's all we need to make money and stay in business.
I was like, oh my gosh. And he was actually looking to try and buy a better one than what he had. I'm like, when's enough? I don't know. But it's like, I don't know, because it's funny when you see that graph again with the population versus prosperity stuff, where it's like the trend, if you watch it, as the population goes up, the prosperity goes up too. And then at a point, the population stops and the prosperity, kind of goes up a little further, but then kind of plateaus and goes back down because then the population goes down too. And it's kind of a funky back and forth. And that was part of the reason, I don't know all the reasons, but part of the reason I think China has been loosening up on its population laws. Because it used to be really strict, like ridiculously strict.
So if you found a way to make people prosperous, you would solve that problem. Good luck making people prosperous.
Well, in a certain, I think there's a certain mentality that you have to have. I think when people...
We both have kids.
Yeah.
We're not... saying people with kids are stupid.
No.
Although if you purposely do that to yourself, maybe you are.
But that's stupid. The thing, though. If you have kids, I watched an interesting podcast.
Just kidding. I love my kids.
Yeah.
Like, majority of the time.
Have you seen the Ben Shapiro guy?
Yeah, I've seen random stuff.
Yeah. I watched an interview. He interviewed a guy
Sometimes he says stupid stuff. He's just good at arguing. But.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. He is really good at arguing, that's for sure. He's definitely quick with his facts. But he interviewed this guy who I guess was one of the original guys to start the podcasting wave. And the guy, I guess he was a comedian, but he grew up, his mom, he's like, we grew up just from handout to handout. Like, it was a single mom. And anyway... And it was funny to hear his perspective of the whole thing, where he's like, I didn't like it. And he didn't. So he lived his whole life from handout, not knowing where the next thing would come. His mom couldn't hold a job, all this kind of stuff. And not that he didn't like his mom, he just didn't like the lifestyle. And he had like a totally like 180 work ethic as he got older. Like he did all the jobs that no one else would do. He did like janitor, construction, all these things. And
well, I think having a job gives you purpose. It has something like people might see people that are like living off handouts and stuff like that, but like they're missing a big part of life.
Yeah.
When you're doing something, you're helping the economy, or you're like providing a service and helping people out. Like you gain a lot of benefit from that. I think self-esteem wise, and like you have a purpose, like a reason to live. But if you don't, then it's kind of miserable. But that's just my
it's true. I mean,
feeling on it.
Yeah, there's no point in moving on if you're not going anywhere, or feel like you're going anywhere, or doing something that benefits someone else. And that was something like he wanted to do something with comedy. It was kind of interesting to hear his story, where he talked about like his friends like going out to party, and he'd be standing like hours in a line to do stand-up routines, and most nights not even getting to the stage before it was over. Like they were just taking people one at a time, and sometimes they were done for the night before it got to him. Anyway, it's just all these things, and he's like, and he would even think to himself like, why am I doing this? And then he would like, have something that reminded him of what he wanted to do. So he's like, I've got to do something. Anyway, it's just an interesting mentality how like even growing up in an environment that wasn't really maybe conducive to such a good work ethic, he ended up developing it because he didn't like where he was at and wanted to do something about it, kind of thing. It was just kind of cool. And it was not an overnight thing. He said it took quite a long time before things finally took off.
And not to say just because you're getting government assistance doesn't mean you have a bad work ethic.
No, and that's the thing. Like there's different circumstances, but I mean, like you talked about already earlier with, there's people with disabilities or mental handicaps, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, but there's still places for them. And that's...
I know people going to school. They used it. I mean, they had kids going to school, so they were on Medicaid and had food stamps and stuff. And I was like, no, that's like... You're a good investment for the government to like help you get through this thing, and then...
Yeah, they're going to school. They're actually trying to...
I mean, yeah. So, I mean... And there's people that can't provide for themselves or maybe need help here and then, but...
Yeah. But that's where I think that everyone can contribute somehow. I mean, not in the traditional ways that we all think of, but I think there's always something. Somewhere. May not have thought of it yet, but there's always something.
There was remember the show Wife Swap? Where they, it's not like a swinger thing. It's a reality show where they swap wives, and the wife has to live with the family for like a couple of days, and then the other wife lives with the other family for a couple of days, and in the end they like say, oh, this is what I saw, this is what we did. There was one where this dad was working like 20 hours a week as a mechanic, and he made pretty decent money. I mean, mechanics do pretty well.
They can, yeah.
But they were kind of just living off just what they needed. And she was like, well, you need to get a job and work full time. You got to think about your kids and do all this. So he's like, I am thinking about my kids. Like, I only work this much because I come home and I play with my kids all day. Like, we get to hang out like all the time. And like, it always bugged me that she was like harping down on him, because he was like this great dad. Like, I always showed him he's like really hands on. So he's like playing with his kids like all the time. And I was like, so who? I mean, you do got to invest like in the future too, because you got to be able to hand them out. And then when you retire, you got to be able to like provide for yourself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, he could do that working 20 hours a week. I think everyone has this idea of like, you have to work a ton to be successful, but I don't think that's necessarily true. Like, they talk about this a lot in like the tech industry. That's probably where it's changed the most, is they're shortening hours per week and stuff like that, and with their employees, because they find if you do like an 8-hour day, you're productive like 2 hours of it. So I keep them on for another 6 hours if you get the same productivity, and you can get the same amount of work done a day if they're only working 2 hours instead of staying there for 8.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of companies that are like jumping aboard on that and paying for a service rather than your employment. So it's like, hey, I have this job, and then you're paid for it.
Well,
like, I think freelance stuff. And
I think it's definitely better to pay for work done and the quality of work versus the time spent and all.
Yeah.
It just makes more sense when it comes to efficiency.
Because I have like half the time now I work from home. So I could be really productive and only put in like 2 hours. Or I could like sit there in a slow pharmacy and not do anything for 13 hours.
Right.
And I'd be like, I was more productive like in 2 hours at home. I usually will do both jobs at the same time, and I'll like bring my homework into work.
That's the way to do it.
So I'll be like on my laptop, pulling up Excels, making charts, and whatnot. But
cleaning it up. But yeah, that's cool. It's crazy. Don't know how it all works out, but I think it does.
Because right now I'm in the spot, like, I like what I do. I think it gives me a purpose. I keep saying this in the thing, but like, I feel like that's a big part of work, and whether you enjoy it and you don't go insane is whether you feel like you have a purpose. And so if I'm helping people at work, it gives me a purpose and it makes me feel good. But
contribute.
I feel like I could work more, but I gotta like set limits on myself too, because I also want to be a dad. And so it's hard to
that is the hard part.
Find that balance, being like, okay, I know I could do this. Like I've had the week off, like I'm on PTO, and I spent like probably 4 hours a day working.
Oh, really?
When I didn't need to, and I spent a couple hours yesterday working. I was like, no, John, you go into the playroom, you play Barbies for hours.
That's hard. That is very hard.
Especially with like little kids, because they tell you how to play. They're like, no, you say this, and then they say something like, oh no, you say this, and you're like, all right, man, playing is so much more fun if you just let me be creative, yo.
let me play, man. Oh, sliding. I am so sliding.
More ball troubles.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think my legs are falling asleep. Oh, it's tingling in my leg. That's my foot. And my foot.
Man, ice cream's so good.
You bet.
It's like my weakness. I could eat
my weakness
ice cream, and I always feel like crap afterwards.
Pastries and ice cream. I don't usually feel like crap, actually. Depends on when I eat it. If I eat it and I haven't really done anything, like if it's been like one of those days where I haven't done anything to feel like I've
worked off.
Well, either physically or even just accomplished anything. Like it's just one of those sluggish days that you haven't done anything.
Yeah.
Where you just feel like, man, this whole day went by. I had thoughts. That's about it. I just like, I watched something or do something. I'd read something or, kind of burned a lot of time, but didn't feel like I did anything actually. And then I eat the ice cream. Then I feel like crap.
I feel like
getting rewarded for nothing.
The more free time I have, the more miserable I am.
To an extent, I feel that way.
Like, I feel like, oh man.
If I knew what to do with the free time, I wouldn't feel so bad.
I should be like doing something. Like I only have so many years left to live.
Right.
I can't be wasting it doing nothing.
And that's if nothing.
Like I need to be doing something. I don't know what's wrong with my brain now.
That's if nothing traumatic happens. It's like. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like that with my Saturdays. It's nice having every Saturday off, but I feel like lately every Saturday has been like filled with something. like we had a family reunion, and then I had some. Oh, what was it? I think it was some pictures or something we did for some people. Anyway, just felt like every day there was something.
Speaking about working, guess who works the first weekend in September? Oh yeah.
Who? I do.
Me.
Hey!
Heck yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't think we've worked together for a long time.
No, you should just you need to go up to him and just say, I want to work the first
and
Saturday
Brooklyn's still making the schedule,
month.
So I gotta be like, hey Brooklyn, this
first
is
Saturday of every
who you need to schedule on these days.
Well, I'm always there.
So I think it's gonna be me.
I told Daniel that, and he's
you.
Yeah. First Saturday.
Brooklyn.
Wait, she's still
maybe Ashley.
I thought she's gone by then.
She's gone, but she's gonna be like PRN still.
Oh.
So she'll do like weekends here or there.
Okay,
like,
so she hasn't. She's not quitting.
And she'll probably still be doing like the schedule and everything as the lead time.
That is so crazy. That is so crazy. That whole situation is a mess right now. Yeah. Last I heard.
If anybody needs a job, Springville Walmart and the pharmacy, they're hiring. They had a lot of turnover just recently. They're almost redoing the whole staff.
Ever since Casey left, I don't think we've had it's been turnover ever since.
That was the key, Casey.
No, he wasn't the key. I think he was the last straw. There's a difference. It wasn't like he left and then everyone left. It was he left, and I think it just...
No, I miss working with Casey, though.
I do, too.
He's a really good worker.
He texted me and was like...
Oh yeah, he asked me for your phone number, so
he was wanting to see
I gave it out.
Yeah, he was
I'm a douche,
asking
I
me
guess.
if that's fine. He was asking me if I could take a shift for him. I'm like, I can only work weekends. And he's like, oh,
What shift was it? Was it at Sam's or was it?
I don't know. He just said cover a shift. I didn't.
I know he picks up a lot of extra shifts.
Yeah,
Because I was in Cedar Hills when I worked with him last.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
See, he always is picking up shifts though. Like even when he worked
And every time he works, he's working hard.
Yeah,
like the guy doesn't take a break.
Not really. Yeah, he's always got something that he can do, or
like he'll pop a joke here and there. You get him and Jig Nasty together. That'd be funny. You just hear him laughing at drop off, and you're like,
they would. I never saw them together. And Casey,
yeah, they'd be down at drop off. They're giggling the whole time, and neither of them are like big gigglers and stuff like that. But when they get together, like they just crack each other up.
Oh, I never got to see that. That would have been funny.
It's pretty good.
That sounds like it'd be good.
I miss the old crew.
I know, we had such a good crew.
Martha's about all that's left.
Yeah, when I went there last, everyone's different. And when's Dallin gone?
He might stay.
Is he decided officially what he's doing?
Yeah, so he has to work out housing and stuff like that. And like at the U, there's it's hard to get housing there.
So he might be just
he might just stay where he's at now and commute for a while, and then like try again for next semester or the next year.
Yeah, because I'm like, a lot of people.
Because when I applied for housing, it took me like 2 years to get in.
Oh, really?
So the first 2 years I was like apartments, and then I was at the married student housing for the last 2 years. So much better. It was like cheap, and it's probably why it's hard to get in, but.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, but there's so many people gone. Anyway. Oh, boy. It's getting late. And I'm getting tired.
This is a pretty good run I don't know when we started.
Well,
we came over to work out at like 6:30.
Yeah.
We didn't work out very long.
No, we're done by 7. But hour and a half.
Almost 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, that's some chit-chatting of that today.
I wonder if there's any soul in this universe that would ever listen to this whole thing.
I don't know.
Start to finish. We have more people than I thought listen to it.
Did you see we got a new follower? I think was it YouTube or it might have been on SoundCloud. I can't remember. Yeah. But there was some kind of notification.
Well, our views sometimes in the double digits. Yeah.
That's right. And that's right.
So it's not too bad. But like I've heard people being like, "Oh yeah, let's like listen to your podcast," and I was like, "Oh, you listen to it?
That's cool."
It's kind of weird thinking it's more people that we know that listen to it because they probably heard.
It is people that we know or not people.
Rebecca started.
Oh, that's
because
right.
you sent her a friend request on Facebook on accident, and so then I felt like she felt obligated to listen to it. And so if you're listening to this right now, Rebecca, you're not obligated to listen to anything. If nobody listens to these podcasts, that's fine. I won't.
We figured if nothing else, this will be for posterity, and it's be like journals that they can listen to. And
again, my kids can listen and be like, "Oh, my dad was a douche.
He knew nothing."
But hopefully by then they'd already know I'm a douchebag and won't need to listen to a podcast to know.
No, they just listen to it to remember the douchebag days.
Mm-hmm. I do the thing now where like I made them an email account.
Are you doing
and
that?
I'll send them a random email. I don't do it very often. Like, okay. I wish I did it more often.
I heard people doing that. They go back and read it. I'm like, it sounded cool at first, but then I was just like, I wouldn't.
Well, like how quickly your views change on things. And like, this is something in politics that always makes you mad when people are like, oh, they used to be for this 7 years ago. And now they're not. And it's like, I don't think that's bad. I feel like if you get new information and you're like, oh, hey, I was wrong. I've changed my view. That should be like commended.
Right.
I mean, they're doing it just for like votes and to gain power. But like if it was actually like
legitimate.
Oh, hey, yeah, I didn't know that when this happens, it causes this. And now that it causes this, I mean, I don't want that to be caused.
I was talking about that with my brother-in-law, where it's like in society now, it's almost no matter what you do, if you've done something wrong, you're like horrible. It's weird. Like if you're a good person who does something wrong, all of a sudden everything good that you ever did was now like null and void. Then the flip side is like if you're a bad person who tries to be good, everyone tells you you're just a bad person, so you like they like make you give up trying to be a good person. So you're back to back. Like
You can
everyone's
never
just,
win.
no, you're always bad.
Unless you're perfect, and nobody's perfect.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So everyone's just bad, and it's like, wait a minute, people can change.
Jerry Seinfeld was on
it's
like
just kind of weird.
a show, and he was talking about that where like they talked about a comedian that did something. I don't think it was Bill Cosby, but like it was like
He did on a different one, but
he still did like a lot of good things,
right.
and he's like, so yeah, they did a bad thing, but they've also like done a lot of good.
Right.
Like Bill Cosby would be an example. So he did like horrendous things, you know,
Right.
raping
Yeah.
triple digits.
Yeah,
of
we're
women.
not condoning anything of that nature.
But I mean, he did a lot for like his race. He did a lot for like
Right.
families with the show. I mean,
Well, it's
I've
like,
seen a
I
lot of
don't-
things where like I think he has like a psychology degree, and so he talks a lot about like family development and helping with that. Like someone, Dr. Phil, as like a guest that was helping out. So he's done a lot of good.
Right.
He's done a lot of bad things, but I
Right.
don't think that discounts the good that he's done as well.
Right. And that's the way I look. I was like, he didn't promote his bad bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he was going out and say, you know, I do, or it's okay to be a bad person, then it's like, yeah, that's screwball-y. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's hard because sometimes you want to punish. So there's something recently that happened where the guy at Papa John's, I'm pretty sure it's Papa John. He's the one that was on all the football stuff, right?
Oh,
With
sure.
like
I don't know.
Peyton Manning and stuff.
Go for it.
Anyways, so he like used the N-word somewhere, and he was like, "Oh, I felt pressured into doing it," which is like, no, you're just a jerk. But a lot of people are like dropping their sponsors, like University of Utah. They're like, oh yeah, we're not gonna have Papa John's at our food places anymore, like on campus or at stadiums and stuff like that. But a lot of people are like, so yeah, that's gonna hurt Papa John's, but Papa John's doesn't own all these places. Like,
right.
People are franchising out, and so you're hurting the mom and dad shops that they did nothing to deserve this.
They didn't say it.
But at the same time, you don't want to like support him because if they're buying a franchise, then the money goes to him. So it's a tricky thing. But
well, and it's how like with the social media, how fast that flip flops is crazy. Like people losing jobs and things off a tweet.
Oh, there's a guy that was with Disney that was doing all the Marvel movies. I guess like 7-10 years ago. Like he said some pretty bad stuff.
Right.
But like he's apologized for it. And he's like, I've grown as a person. I'm no longer like that, which is probably BS for the most part.
Yeah.
He just is like more mature and knows when to say that stuff and when not to. But at the same time, he's fired for something he did like back then. I don't know if he was employed by them at the time or anything, but yeah.
It is so weird how PR is so connected with that, where it's like you do something on social media. I can see why a lot of people just don't want to even go on there anymore.
It's the same reason we have rules at work, Stefan. Every boss will be like, yeah, I'd love to give you all this freedom, but then there's that one idiot that messes it up for everybody else.
Well,
and
that's
so, like,
it's so weird.
You let people be a little more like freedom of speech, say what they want to say and not get in trouble. But then there's that one person that just takes it to an extreme. Kathy Griffin shows Donald Trump's head cut off and blood. And it's like, oh, hey, yeah, that was probably bad taste.
Yeah. Or it's just so weird. I don't know. Yeah, it's just so strange. I don't know.
It's a tough world to be in.
Well, and it's how sensitive everybody is to it at the same time, where it's like people say dumb stuff, and to take it so literal and personal and like absolute just seems almost childish on the side of the person whoever it was against or whatever. Where it's like, are we not mature enough to just be like,
yeah, they say stupid stuff.
Yeah, and just brush it off like, okay, that was uncalled for, out of place, and totally wrong. But I'm not going to.
And I feel like most of the time, like an apology would be suffice.
Yeah,
and
like
those
sufficient.
things being like, hey, everyone, I said the N-word. That was really bad. Like
it was dumb.
It's tied to a lot of hate things, and I don't feel that way. I just used the word because I was angry, and it was like meant to hurt somebody, but I wasn't meant to hurt everybody. It was directed at this. I don't know. Whatever the apology was, you give your reasons, and then people can, decide whether they forgive them or not.
Right, and then leave it up to everyone else instead of, because I feel like society almost...
I'm not saying it's okay.
No.
I don't like it when anybody says the N-word.
No.
Just for the record.
Well, and it's
I feel like sometimes it's so casually used that it bugs me.
Yeah. Well, and it's anyway. Yeah, there's a lot of things though. I think just in conversation, there's just so many things that I feel like we just have lost. I mean, one, I don't think our society even teaches a lot of just common.
Well, in the media,
courtesy.
everything's supposed to be perfect. Like you,
Well, the media.
we hire all these like gorgeous models and stuff like that. So all we see in the media is like these gorgeous people, but that's not regular people.
Well, not even that though. I'm thinking even the opposite side of. I mean, I find there's a lot more going off the rating system, like things that are TVMA and all that kind of stuff, than there are like TVY, like for everybody kind of thing. Like I think in general, there's just been a decline in everything. Like, oh, I saw a trailer, or not even all of it, only part of it. There's a show called Teen Titans. Have you heard of that? It's a cartoon. DC comic. Yeah.
I saw the commercial for it. Actually,
Did you
pretty
see
funny.
it?
I've never seen the show, but like,
did you for the
they kept
live
calling
action
the one
one?
dude Deadpool. He's like, no, I'm not Deadpool, but he's like the same character, just the DC version. Like, yeah, you're totally Deadpool.
Was this the live action one?
No, it was the cartoon.
Okay, because there's a live.
Is there
action.
a live action one? Okay,
But
Maybe
they're
I'm thinking
taking
something-
it. It's weird though, because the Teen Titans. It's a DC one, and there's like Cyborg, Robin, and some other
some like
characters.
green
Beast,
dude.
Yeah, Beast Boy. Anyway, my sister watched that growing up. Anyway, and they're making a live action like series for it, but they've taken it to like the TVMA like these they've darkened up the whole situation. Like everyone's gritty, everyone's like foul mouthed, everyone's like there's a lot of more explicit gore, blood. And I'm like, this is nothing like the cartoon.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, why does everything have to go to that level? I mean, I don't know. I think of some of my favorite movies, and Indirection has been, the best thing in most movies, where it's like you cut away or turn away or go to something else just before the thing gets grisly or horrible. And it's like, that's plenty. I don't know. It's just interesting how that, I think society as a whole has kind of shifted. And anyway, there's a lot of reasons for it. But I think our entertainment in general has kind of shifted that way in a strange way.
I would say I'm pretty lax with most things, but there's some times where like watch a movie
Where you go
and
like, really?
they say the F word too much, which I say it all the time.
Occasionally.
But like if it's like every other word in a show, it's just like, okay, we get what you're trying to do.
Right. And it's like, really?
Sometimes it makes sense. Like Wolf of Wall Street was terrible.
Right, that's what the
Half of that
movie's
stuff,
about.
but that's what it's like supposed to do. You're
Right.
supposed to feel uncomfortable with
His
these guys being so
lifestyle, yeah.
like big a douchebags, being like, oh man, this guy is such a
Right.
it's hedonism.
And that's where I wonder though, it's like, I feel like every show is trying to do that to an extent. Like even if it's not meant to do that, like that show where that's the story is just a guy that's a bum. In that sense, where it's like, I think every show is trying to have a bum or a bum element where it's just like, why are we going there with this type of show? Or, I know people try, and say like Game of Thrones, it's like, it's part of it. And it's like, sure, it might be, but how much of it needs to be part of it?
You probably still tell a lot of the story and
Right.
get away with it.
Right. Where it's like, do you really need all of it?
But I'm going to defend Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what happens adds to the show, but they'll have a lot of like extra stuff. So like the first 2 seasons, one of the guys owns like a brothel, and there'll be like
Stuff
2
going
girls
on.
going at it in the background, and you're like, probably don't need that to have the story.
Right.
But
Exactly.
like other things would
Understanding
be needed, but
their occupation doesn't mean they have to.
I'm not gonna say there's nothing in there that doesn't need to be in there, but there are some times where it does.
And
the
that's,
story.
and if it's story element, sure, but I guess depending. I still think, there's a lot of things that when it comes to storytelling. Anyway, so back to the chit-chatting of that. We've chit-chatted that quite a bit. I don't know if people have thoughts on that. can let
In
us know.
conclusion, I wanted to say to not use the family restroom unless you're a family.
I need the restroom.
Yeah, not cool. I like I said, I've been guilty of it. I was like, man, I don't like pooping right next to somebody. Maybe I'll go into this private bathroom.
That's
But
how it works.
you may be taking it from someone that needs it for what it was intended for, like the handicap stall or parking in a handicap space.
Think
Stuff
of
like that.
others.
Which is like my second biggest pet peeve is inconsiderate.
We hope this has made you all become better people. If you change that in your life, then you're better. I'm Stefan.
I'm John.
For daily updates, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Don't miss out on the next Chit Chat That.